Hey mamas! Today we are going to do a quick yoga practice which is geared toward the second trimester of pregnancy. So it's all about making room in the body and just getting ready to go into the last stage of pregnancy. It is geared toward second trimester, but it is totally okay for any trimester wherever you are in your pregnancy as long as you feel up to it. So always listen to your body and do what feels best to you. I'm not pregnant right now, so I've asked my friend Katie to model for us. Katie is just finishing up the end of her second trimester, so she is a perfect model. Yeah. So I'm going to ask Katie to just start by coming onto hands and knees, and I'm going to step out of her way. Katie's going to set up so that her hands are right under her wrists and her knees are right under her hips, and she's going to spread her fingers. And then she's just going to start wiggling around in whatever way feels good to her. So maybe that is doing pelvic tilts. Maybe that's moving her rib cage from side to side and wagging her tail a little bit. I always tell my mamas in my prenatal yoga classes to just get a little freaky with it and don't worry about who's watching you, which is hilarious since we are putting this up on YouTube, right, Katie? Luckily, it's a new channel, so maybe there won't be that many people watching you, Katie. Yes, that's true. Good point. Okay, this is how freaky Katie gets. Oh, good. All right. And then she's going to move into a more cat-cow movement. So with an inhale, she's going to bring her shoulders back, and she's going to look up a little bit and bring her chest forward. And then with an exhale, she's going to look in toward her belly button and say hello to that little life growing in there, round the back. Good. And a couple more times following her own breath. Beautiful, Katie. And then one more. So she's moving with her own rhythm, following her own body's guidance. Good, and then come back to a neutral spine. Bring your knees wide and your big toes to touch, and sit your hips back to your heels. Come into a child's pose for just a breath or two. So squish that point right in between your eyebrows down into the mat. Creepy crawl your hands forward and press down through the hands so the undersides of your arms lift just a little bit. Good. So this is one of my variations for downward facing dog. If downward facing dog doesn't feel good to you, you can always come here. My next favorite one is puppy pose. So come back up onto hands and knees. Good. Keep your thighs parallel to the perpendicular to the floor rather, and then walk your hands out in front of you again, Katie. So sitting bones are staying straight up into the air. Yep, and then you're just going to keep walking your hands out. So it's like a downward facing dog from the hips up, and instead of being on your feet, you're on your knees. Good, so really stretch through the spine. Maybe draw those ribs in just a little bit and up, Katie. Yeah. Nice. And then you can walk her hands back, come to hands and knees again. Good. So this time hands are just a little bit forward of the shoulders. And then tuck your toes under and lift your hips up and back. Come into a downward facing dog. Beautiful. So it's totally okay to keep your knees bent for a little bit if you need to, but really focus on stretching the spine. So the femur bones are moving back and she's pressing down through the hands to give her that length. Good. And then just take a second to shake out the head, yes and no. Beautiful. If it feels like a good idea, maybe you can start bending one knee and then the other. So we take our dog for a little walk. Beautiful. Then bend both knees. Lift your hips up and back. And then as if someone is holding them right where they are in space, start to straighten your knees and bring your heels toward the floor. Good. So we're just increasing the stretch to the back of the legs. Take one big breath here. And then with an exhale, come down, come into your child's pose. So knees wide, big toes touch. So we're leaving plenty of room for baby, no squishing babies. It's like the only rule. Well, one of a couple rules that you have to remember in prenatal yoga. Take two more breaths. Maybe this time you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let every exhale be a reminder to soften. Beautiful. Make your way back onto hands and knees. And this time, bring your thumbs to touch right underneath of your nose. Good. Take a big breath in. And with an exhale, take as many little steps as you need to take to get your right foot forward, forward, forward to the outside of your right hand. So maybe it comes all the way up to your right pinky. Good. And this is just going to give, it's like a low lunge, but it gives extra room for growing babies. Awesome. So you can stay here, or I'm going to let Katie come up onto a couple yoga blocks right under her shoulders. Beautiful. And then bring your right hand up onto your right thigh to help bring you all the way up to a low lunge. So keep the back knee bent. Keep the back knee bent. Good. And then just use your hand to lift your torso up. There you go. Good. Bring your hands to your hips for a second. Hug your elbows in behind the back so your chest is broad. And very gently, you might start to lift your chin and lean back just a little bit. Good. Then reach your arms up by your ears. Take a big breath in. Spread through the fingers. And then exhale, hands come back to the blocks. We'll pretend that my cuckoo clock isn't cuckooing. And then whenever you're ready, you can move your blocks off to the side and come back to hands and knees. And we'll just do the other side. Good. So thumbs touch in front of you, and she's bringing her left foot forward. Yep, as many little creepy crawls as you need to get that foot up there. Hands come to blocks for a second, and pause here. Feel your chest move forward, feel your shoulders move back, so spine is long. And then bring your hands up onto your left thigh to press yourself up. Yep. And then hands to hips. Hug your elbows in, lift the chest, collarbones are broad, gaze turns up slightly if that feels okay on the neck. And then stay here, reach your arms up by your ears, spread through the fingers. Good, beautiful. One more big breath here. And then exhale, hands come back to the blocks or to the floor, to the inside of the foot, and then step back on the hands and knees. Beautiful. Good. Let's take a break so you can choose whether you want to do the child's pose, the puppy pose, or the downward facing dog. Any one is okay, just depends on what your energy level is today. So for sure, when you're pregnant, sometimes you feel really great and energetic and awesome, and sometimes you feel like you need a little break. So I always advocate for taking breaks when you need them. Take 3 breaths wherever you are. Good. And then come into downward facing dog just as a transition. And walk your feet forward toward your hands. Make sure those feet are at least hip distance apart or a little bit wider so you don't squish the baby as you forward fold. Good. And just for a second, stay here in your forward fold or Uttanasana. And I want you to interlace your hands and bring them to the nape of your neck. So at the base of the skull. Yep. Drop your shoulders toward the floor, let your torso hang. And if it feels like a good idea, maybe you just sway a little bit from side to side. Good. So Katie's going to go only as much from side to side as she can without compressing her belly. Nice job. And then she'll let her head go. Bend your knees a little bit and slowly roll up to a stand. Beautiful. Step your feet forward, come to the front edge of your mat, and then look down at your feet. You want your feet to be at least hip distance wide. Pick up your toes, spread them wide. Good. Press down through the feet to lift the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. So I always like to say it's like you're trying to get on an amusement park ride, but you're not quite tall enough. Then fold your hands together in front of your heart. Good, palms together. So your thumbs, yeah. Beautiful. Inhale, lift your chest up toward your thumbs, and exhale, feel your shoulders move back and away from your ears. Good, another big breath. Really strong through the legs. And then bring your hands to your hips and take as many little steps as you need to take to get your right foot back behind you. Good, so front knee bends to about 90 degrees. It may be a little bit less. And if you feel any pulling through the pelvis at all, we'll step your feet a little closer together. That goes for all standing poses. Are you good here?
Yes.
All right. So from here, I want you to spin your back heel down to the floor and then take a look at your back foot and make sure your pinky toe edge of the foot is lined up with the back edge of your mat. Good. And then bend that front knee forward again and reach through your arms for warrior two. Good. Inhale, feel your chest lift like we did before. Exhale, feel your shoulders soften down. Beautiful. And then we're just going to move through the knee bend and straight a couple times. So inhale, straighten your front knee, and exhale, bend it. Good. A couple more times. Make sure that knee doesn't go past the front ankle. Beautiful. And Katie's doing a really good job keeping her gaze toward the third finger of her front hand. Of course, she knows if that doesn't feel good on her neck, she can look wherever the heck she wants to. Good. The next time that front knee bends, keep it bent. Bring your forearm onto your front thigh. So it's going to come all the way down. Forearm. No, you're good. Yep. And then top arm reaches up and overhead. So side angle pose. With your back to the camera. A little bit awkward, but we'll turn you around in a second. Good. Now, one of the things that I love to do in side angle poses for my mom is her hand is right here next to her belly, so I'm going to tell her just go for it. Rub her belly, say hello in there. Good. Really reach. So back heel presses down and top arm reaches up and overhead. So again, we're making a little extra room through her side body for baby. And we're making sure this bottom shoulder doesn't creep up toward the ear. She looks great. Good. And then with an inhale, come back up into your warrior two. Take a second there. And then inhale, straighten your front knee. Exhale, reach your front fingertips forward, forward, forward. And come into a triangle pose with your fingertips to a block to the outside of your front leg, front foot. Good. Maybe gaze turns up to the third finger of the top hand. And if you feel like you want to find a little bit more space, this top hand, the palm reaches forward and then it can go overhead. So again, we're finding that nice, beautiful stretch along the ribs, the sided waist and the ribs. Good. Another big breath here. Maybe you turn your collarbones up toward the sky just a little bit more. Good. And then whenever you're ready, bend your front knee and slow and with control, come back up to warrior two. Strong, strong legs. Good. Bring your hands to your hips and then take as many little steps as you need to take to get your back foot forward, forward, forward. Take a second in your mountain pose, so really press down through the feet, lift up through the crown of the head. Beautiful. And then bring your hands to your hips and take as many little steps as you need to get your left foot back, back, back. Good. Front knee bends to about 90 degrees. Yep. And then turn and spin your back heel down. Good. Check out the alignment of the back foot. I like to line up pinky toe edge of the foot with the back edge of the mat. Beautiful. And then reach your arms. Good. Chest is broad, shoulders, good job, are just letting gravity pull them down. And then inhale, straighten the front knee. Good. And exhale, bend the front knee. So slow and with control, careful not to go too far with the knee. Good. Couple more times with your own breath at your own pace. The slower and the fuller and the deeper your breath can be, the better. Good. Bend that front knee one more time and then keep it there. Inhale. And with an exhale, bring the front forearm onto the front thigh, reach the top arm up and over. Big stretch, side angle pose, Parsvakonasana. Maybe that bottom hand, like a magnet, goes right to baby. Hello in there. Good. Mindful of what the bottom shoulder is doing, so we don't want to I keep saying creepy crawl. We don't want to let the shoulder creep up to the ear too much. And then back heel really presses down and then get lots of length. And then if it feels like a good idea, maybe the collarbones turn to face more toward the ceiling. Beautiful. Strong, strong legs. With an inhale, come back up to your warrior two. Good. Take a second here. Soft through the shoulders. And then inhale, straighten the front knee. Exhale, fingers come forward, forward, forward. So side body is long, and then those hands are going to come down to the block, to the outside of the right pinky toe. Good. Triangle pose. So everything that's touching the ground presses down and then reach out in all directions. I like to think of like belly button is like the circle of the sunshine, and then arms and legs and head are all the lines that come out in all directions, at least the way that my daughter draws it. Good. If you did on the first side, maybe you turn your top palm to face forward and then reach it overhead. So again, we've got this nice long stretch. Both legs are as straight as you can make them. Good, and then careful not to bring more tension into the head, the neck, the shoulders. Beautiful. Whenever you're ready, bend your front knee. Lift yourself back up into your warrior two. Yep. And then hands to hips. Step your back foot forward, forward, forward. As many little steps as you need to take to get there. Good. One more breath or two in your mountain pose. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Press down through the feet to lift up through the heart. Nice. And then do whatever you need to do to make your way back to hands and knees. Cool. So we're going to come into a sleeping pigeon pose, which is just maybe one of my favorite poses ever, but it's really good for pregnancy because it opens through the hips a little bit. So Katie's going to bring her right knee forward to the inside of her right wrist. Yep. And then before she folds forward, she's going to come up onto fingertips. Scoot that foot over to the side just a little bit more. Yep, so front foot is active. Maybe the top of the foot is pressing down into the mat. Maybe it's flexed depending on the angle of the foot. I like the top of the foot pressing down, so that's what Katie's doing. Come up onto fingertips. You can even use blocks here to lift yourself upright, and then you're going to kind of squeeze your knees toward each other to lift your pelvis up even more. Yes. And then come up onto fingertips, and maybe she lifts her hands for just a second. So we get really, really strong in the legs. Beautiful. And then bring them back down. And you can walk your hands forward and come into sleeping pigeon. So you can lose the blocks if you want to. Good. So Katie knows because she's been practicing with me for a while, but for those of you who are new to my classes, you know you can bring your head all the way down to the mat. You can stack your forearms and let your head rest on top. You can stack your fists and rest them on top. I don't care if you build a fort with blocks so that you can rest down, but I want you to feel relaxing down into the floor. Take a couple more breaths. You can even feel the breath come into the low back a little bit more here. Maybe you feel your kidney area expand with the inhale and then contract a little bit with the exhale. It's really interesting moving the breath to different parts of the body. Good. After a couple breaths, we'll bring our hands underneath the shoulders to gently press yourself up. And then make your way back to hands and knees. Take your time, and we'll do the other side. So left knee is gonna come forward. Excuse me. Yep. She's gonna use the blocks if she needs them, or come up onto fingertips. Hug knees toward each other. Pelvis is strong. Pelvic floor is strong, and then even more important perhaps than strengthening through the pelvic floor is learning how to also relax. So beautiful, beautiful demonstration there. Then you can walk your hands forward and start to come down into sleeping pigeon. Now, as Katie gets a little bit bigger through the belly, I should say as Katie's baby gets a little bit bigger, she may find this is a little bit less comfortable, and she may want to angle herself over to the side so that there's more room for baby. That's always an option. And then wherever you're comfy, You can bring your forehead down. Some of you may want to stay more upright, and that's cool too. Wherever you are, just drop your head. Let your head be heavy, let your breath be slow. It's like a good motto for life. And then after a few breaths, bring your hands under your shoulders. Press yourself up to a comfortable seated position. You can be cross-legged or you can be just sitting on your shins, whatever is the most comfortable. And just take a second, bring a hand to your heart, bring a hand to your belly. Take a couple breaths and check in. Of course, if you have the time, set yourself up for a nice long Shavasana. If you're not sure how to do that, then head over to my YouTube channel. I think we're going to film that one next. Otherwise, just stay here for a few more breaths, feeling the after effects of the practice. Hopefully, you feel more grounded, more spacious, more calm, more at ease. Good. Bring your hands down to your lap. You can do palms facing down or up, whichever you choose. Take just a couple more breaths in, letting every breath come down. Touch baby. Every exhale helps you to soften and ease a little bit more. And then fold your hands back together in front of the heart in Anjali Mudra. May you each be blessed with peace and joy, love and light. Namaste.